Good morning students. Welcome back to the another online session from Anand Medical Academy. In this session I am going to finish the topic of proteins. In the last couple of videos we had started the amino acid structures. In the two sessions we had learned about the different types of amino acids also. In this part I am going to finish the protein with structures of protein and their respective examples. Before that, everyone has a doubt that where does this protein exactly origin? Let us see that part. In the cell, nucleus will be there, right? Inside the nucleus, there is a DNA. It is some focused part of DNA. DNA is a double stranded. About this structure you will come to know later. This is a double-stranded DNA. Some part of double-stranded DNA transcribe its information. This is called transcription. This is called transcription and provide a single-stranded RNA. So here one should understand that ribonucleic acid, nothing but RNA, is deriving from double-stranded DNA. But this is single-stranded. SS means single-stranded. Particularly this type of RNA is called mRNA. M means messenger RNA. So this messenger RNA obtained information from the DNA. Means even though DNA has an information to produce protein, a single-stranded mRNA is required. That is the reason the information present in the double-stranded DNA, one of the strand, it may be a strand A and strand B. The B strand may give this mRNA, A strand is not. About the strands and the transcription process in second year there is a huge concept, we will learn later. So finally what you have to know is, single-stranded mRNA is coming from double-stranded DNA. The process is called transcription, in which information present in the which information to provide a protein, there was some codes are present. Those codes are present in the DNA. Such codes are transcribed into mRNA. So mRNA have a codes, nothing but sequences. They helps to produce polypeptide chain. Polypeptide chain means protein. Right. So this mRNA undergo a process is called translation. Information which gained by the DNA will be translated into protein. So finally protein is originated by a mechanism is called translation. So whenever you observe this term in the biology, that is a translation, means what happened? mRNA is turned into protein. Then what is a transcription? Double-stranded DNA converts into single-stranded, mainly mRNA, that is a messenger RNA. Then that is called transcription. Here I introduced you two important terms. One is transcription and another one is translation. What is transcription? It is a process in which double-stranded DNA molecule converts into single-stranded mRNA. Then what is a translation? It is a process in which single-stranded mRNA becomes protein. In this process, so many things are involved. Ribosomes and some factors are involved. So, ribosomes' main function is protein synthesis. You might have learned in your previous sessions in school. But here I can tell you, ribosomes are also involved in the translation process. Finally, a protein comes. So, as you know very well that a protein is nothing but polypeptide chain. So many amino acids were formed. Between every amino acid there was a peptide bond. So this is why it's a polypeptide chain. Probably the very first amino acid is methionine. In any protein, very first amino acid is methionine. For that, what is the reason? You have to know that in the mRNA, the first code is AUG. Don't go depth to understand the AUG and other codes. Just you remind that in first year you got the point, that is AUG is the first code of mRNA. Because of that AUG, in every protein the first amino acid is methionine. Simply the short form is MET. Okay, that's enough for this session. When we start the classroom program, then I will explain detailedly. Once you come to know the second year molecular basis of inheritance lesson, this concept will be understand 100%. So here AUG is the first code sequence in the mRNA. That is the reason in every polypeptide chain the first protein will be methionine. Clear? So in this whatever this methionine or proline or serine or lysine, isoleucine, arginine, whatever it is there, here I would like to tell you the very first amino acid free end is N-terminal, and last amino acid it may be 100 amino acids, 50 amino acids, more than 50 amino acids is called completely protein. It's a very important point. Okay, so less than 50 amino acids it is called polypeptide chain. Peptides also will be a term, but once a protein have more than 50 amino acids, it is called complete protein. So no matter the number of amino acids present in a protein, if it is the last amino acid, its free hand is COH, means what? Carboxylic group. So carboxylic group will be free hand, and N means amine group. So NH3 plus or NH2 plus whatever. So that this is called N-terminal. Because of the C, it would be called as C-terminal. In a polypeptide chain or a protein, the last amino acid free end is COH, carboxylic group. That's why it is called C-terminal. The very first amino acid free end is amine group. The very first amino acid carboxylic group participated in peptide bond. The very last amino acid amine group is participated in peptide bond. If you understand this concept, you can answer so many questions. Clear? By this, everyone come to know that how does the proteins are formed by a mechanism, right? But this protein have so many maturation points. It may be matured at its linear shape, and sometimes it will be alpha helix, just like a turns, like a lot of folds. And sometimes it appears as a sheets, just like a plates. Sometimes it appears as a cotton ball. So many globular structures. So this is the time you have to understand that what are the structures where protein is matured. According to its maturations and structures, how many types of proteins. This is what our continuation part. Let's see the different types of proteins. So I can say here structures of proteins. So, in the journey of maturation of proteins, there were 4 points. The first point is called primary structures. These primary structures of proteins are always linear. These are all of the amino acids connected by peptide bonds like this. And in this structure itself, that protein will be matured and do some function. If not, the primary structures are continued to develop and forms different types of bonds, and later they will become secondary structures. So in the primary structures, their protein shape will be always linear, whereas in the linear shape, the protein is not matured. It means it doesn't have any proper function. Then it will be continued to fold and becomes secondary structures. Secondary structures of proteins have 2 different types of shapes. One is alpha helix, another one is beta plated or beta sheeted. This everything will be discussed deeply, don't worry. So this is alpha helix and this is beta plated or sheeted. These two are 2 different versions, and examples also will be different. They are involved in secondary structures. So now third one is tertiary structures. Tertiary structures of proteins are globular, they are nothing but just a cotton ball, so that their shape is globular. Globular in shape. The last type, that is quaternary structures. Quaternary structures of proteins. Quaternary structures of proteins are having multiglobular. If you see here, this is only single globule. Like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, many globules are there. So this is multiglobular. Multiglobular structure. So here, one should understand that I am not explaining different types of proteins. All are proteins. They have a different maturity points. At every maturity point, they have a different structure. That's why here heading is structures of proteins, not types of proteins. So some proteins are matured in its linear shape. Then they are called primary structures. And the secondary structures means what? In the primary structures, they are not matured, so that they are continuing. So they may give alpha helix or beta plated. They are called secondary structures of proteins. If not, they have a many folds, n number of folds, and become a woolen ball like structures, just cotton ball like structure. So this is a tertiary structure. Even here not, the protein has been matured. So then the point, it will be continued as multiglobular. Then that is also a structure of protein, that is called quaternary structures. Now, each and every structure, how it will be formed, what type of chemical bonds are present inside, and their respective examples I am going to deliver. Firstly, let me tell you about primary structures of the proteins. Primary structures of the proteins are always linear. There is no doubt. They are always linear. They do not have any folds. Clear? So they do not have fold structures. If you observe any protein that have many folds, so don't think that belongs to primary structure. That is a principal point. Secondly, it refers to the amino acid sequences and covalent backbone of polypeptide. So which type of bonds you can find? Only peptide bonds only you can find. So that here it will be the first amino acid is considered as N-terminal and last amino acid is considered as C-terminal. This is first amino acid, whereas it is last amino acid. Example, if you take insulin. So always its direction is from N2 towards C. So this is important. Other than this arrow mark, if you observe, that is wrong. N-terminal to C-terminal direction it will go. Suppose here 1, 2, 3, 4 amino acids are there. Whatever 5, 6, 7, 8, everything should be added to N-terminal and continued as C-terminal. So C-terminal is free end and N-terminal is free end of first amino acid. C-terminal is a free end of last amino acid. And this is left hand side and this is right hand side. So which side is the C-terminal is present? Right hand side. Which side is the N-terminal is present? Left hand side. So first amino acid free end is N. Which side? Left side. Whereas the last amino acid free end is C chain, also called C-terminal. Which side? Right hand side. These are important points. The best example here we can see is insulin. Insulin is a hormone secreted in the beta cells of the pancreas. What is the function of insulin? Insulin helps to pick up excess glucose molecules in the blood and place it in the liver and store as a glycogen. So that if insulin is not there in our blood, glucose levels will be increased, leads to diabetes. This insulin have A chain and also B chain. A chain have 20 amino acids and B chain have 31 amino acids. Total 51 amino acids are there. What is the number of amino acids in a insulin protein? 51 amino acids. So insulin is a complete protein. As I said just before, any polypeptide chain or a protein, if number of amino acids are more than 50 or 50, then that is called complete protein. As you are observing here, 51 amino acids are involved in the structure of insulin. So insulin is complete protein. Number of peptide bonds in the insulin? 50. Now let us see secondary structures of proteins. Secondary structures. It refers to the recurring folds. They may be intra or inter hydrogen bonds. So, what is the difference between intra and inter hydrogen bonds? According to that, what are the again types of secondary structures? Let us see. You know very well, this is the amino acid sequence, and as I mentioned here, this is the linear, this is the primary structures. Sometimes at the primary structures, the proteins cannot be matured, means cannot do function, so that they are going to be matured, they are going to be continued the further structures. So, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, a 10 amino acid sequence I have taken. This is the primary structure. How the primary structure is going to become secondary structure? Let us see. The first amino acid, oxygen, and this is the second amino acid, third amino acid, and it is a fourth amino acid, and it's a NH group. Between that oxygen had bond formed between hydrogen and oxygen. So that bond is called hydrogen bond. In the before structures, nothing but protein primary structures, you didn't find that hydrogen bonds. Hydrogen bonds were first seen as secondary structures between first amino acid oxygen and fourth amino acid hydrogen. That hydrogen with nitrogen, that oxygen with carbon, right? So, if it is a fifth, sixth, 7 and 8, and here C double bond O, and here NH. So these two will form another hydrogen bond. Like that, it will be folded. So that's why first time we have seen the foldings. The foldings are intra-type or inter-type. What is intra-type? In the same structure, in the same polypeptide chain, only hydrogen bonds were formed. So they are called helix structures. If these helix structures are right-handed, they are called alpha helix. If they are left-handed, then they are called beta helix. Very simple, no need to confuse. If the helix is in the clockwise direction, that is called right-handed, or also called alpha helix. And the beta helix, the same thing happens in left-hand direction. Left hand means anti-clockwise. So this is beta helix, and this is alpha helix. Alpha helix example, alpha keratin, and it is present in the hair, nails and all. And beta helix example, beta keratin, horns and some scales, scutes of the reptiles, this is present. So whatever, because of the foldings, it is getting some stability and rigidity, so that they are existing in some tough regions. So that is what called intra. Intra means what? Foldings happens due to the hydrogen bonds in the same polypeptide chain. Whereas if the foldings are happened with the hydrogen bonds in two different polypeptide chains. Suppose this is a beta helix, right? And this is another beta helix. Like that, beta helical structures are present. Here one amino acid and here one amino acid is there. The bond present between one amino acid of one peptide chain and another amino acid of its another peptide chain. Like that, from here to here. Then what happens? One plate has been formed. Later from here and here. Then another plate. From here and here. So they are plates. They are nothing but what? Plate-like structure or sheet-like structures. As their helicals are left-handed, this is called beta sheet-like structures. So that inter-hydrogen bonds are formed. Inter-hydrogen bonds were formed. Example, beta plated proteins, nothing but fibroin, sericin, like a cotton or silk proteins. So that's why they have a lot of rigidity. So today I have introduced the new structures that are secondary structures of the proteins, though have foldings due to hydrogen bonds. If that hydrogen bonds are formed in the same structure of the polypeptide chain, that is called intra-hydrogen bonds, then they are forming only helical structures. Whereas the hydrogen bonds are formed between two peptide chains, then it is called interpeptide bond. Inter means junction. Intra means same structure inside. So that one should understand the differences and examples. Examples for alpha helix. This is alpha helix. Secondary structures are available in two types. One is alpha helix. Second one is beta plated. Example for alpha helix is keratin, and example for beta plated is fibroin and sericin. These are silk proteins. Now let us see the rest of two structures of proteins, that are tertiary and quaternary. In tertiary structures, hydrogen bonds are present, means secondary structures are continued, no? That's why hydrogen bonds are present. But along with the hydrogen bonds, you can also observe in these structures hydrophilic bonds. Hydrophilic bonds means what? They are likely to dissolve in water. Means what? They are polar. So polar group of amino acids are forming these structures. And ionic bonds, van der Waals bonds are present. So there are four types of bonds are existing in the tertiary structures. Number one is hydrogen bonds. Number two is hydrophilic bonds. Number three is ionic bonds. And number four is van der Waals bonds. So these four bonds are giving very thick and highly compact structure to this. So that they are highly compact and highly thick and tightly folded structures. If you observe these structures, they are very long. We can also say they are lengthy proteins, just like a woolen ball. They are hollow, and cotton ball are woolen ball like structures. Okay, these structures helps us in our body so many metabolic activities. So they produce enzymes. So very important here. All proteins are not enzymes, but all enzymes, almost of all enzymes are proteins. Reason is primary structures of proteins cannot produce enzymes. Secondary structures of proteins, sometimes they are very rarely produce enzymes, but tertiary structures of proteins are producing enzymes. Such enzymes are involving in so many reactions of our body. But all enzymes are coming from proteins. Which proteins? Maximally tertiary proteins. But all proteins are not enzymes. Why? Primary, secondary cannot give maximum time their protein structures. Means enzyme structures. So why does the tertiary structures of proteins are so important? Means they produce enzymes and they also produce hormones. So many endocrine glands are there in our body. Pituitary gland, thyroid gland, thymus gland, adrenal gland, Langerhanses of a pancreas, and a testis in the men, ovaries in the woman are producing so many hormones. All these hormones are matured in the tertiary structures of the proteins is the meaning. Apart from these two, they also act as receptors. What is receptor? In our body, in every cell membrane, they have a receptors called membrane receptors. They help to identify the suitable chemicals so that they helps to attach them, and they also act as a carrier proteins to send inside. That's why they are also called carrier proteins or membrane proteins. Sometimes in our body, so many chemicals has to move from one place to another protein by the help of proteins. Those proteins are also tertiary structures of proteins. That's why they are called transport proteins. So proteins involved in transport. So movement of chemicals from one places to another places by helping of these structures. Okay. Example here I can say myoglobin. Myoglobin means what? Muscle protein. Muscle protein. So woolen ball like structure. Every primary, secondary, tertiary. In the secondary, alpha helix and beta plated. Every examples are very important in the point of examination. Let us see. It's a and another important thing here is these structures are also available in the 3D. Okay, so primary and secondary structures are in only one dimensional, but here these structures can be seen in the 3-dimensional because of its tightly packed and compact structures and presence of all these 4 types of bonds. Now I am going to conclude the structures with the quaternary proteins. Quaternary structures of the proteins. So quaternary structures of the proteins, example first I will tell you hemoglobin. hemoglobin. I hope you know very well this term. It's a very familiar to everyone that hemoglobin is a protein present in our blood which helps to transport the oxygen and carbon dioxide, and it has 2 alpha units and 2 beta units. Okay, 2 alpha units together is called 141 amino acids and 2 beta units together is called 146 amino acids. Right? If you observe that structure, this is a cotton ball like structure just resembling the tertiary structure, and it is also another tertiary structure, and it is also another tertiary structure, and it is also another tertiary structure, so that they will be connected together like this, so that it will be a matured structure of quaternary structure of the protein. So unit of quaternary structure, this is 1 unit. Then this is tertiary structure. Unit of quaternary structures are called tertiary structures, and amount of tertiary structures are matured and do a function, that is called quaternary structures of the proteins. So if you see, these 2 are alpha and these 2 are beta. These 2 together form 146 amino acids with 145 peptide bonds, and these 2 are formed 141 amino acids, means 140 peptide bonds, and all these together called hemoglobin. The hemoglobin is important protein to carry, which is present in RBC. It helps to carry the oxygen and carbon dioxide transport through blood. So finally quaternary structures are finished. So primary, secondary, tertiary, quaternary structures and their respective examples are so important. Now let us see, other than these examples, what are the proteins and their importance. If we see some other proteins which were not discussed along with the different structures of proteins, collagen. You already heard this term in our first sessions, that is in animal tissues, connective tissue part, collagen fibers, white bundled fibers. So collagen is a protein which found in only animals. That's why it is the most abundant animal protein. In the animal world, it is an abundant protein. Whereas, what about the plant? The most abundant plant protein is Rubisco. Rubisco means, its full form I am going to write, ribulose bisphosphate carboxylase and oxygenase. Rubisco stands. This enzyme is the most abundant enzyme in the world as well as in the plant. Why? Because plants are most abundant living organisms. That's the reason. Rubisco also abundant protein in the world. But most abundant animal protein means collagen comes under. Rubisco, it is present in the plant, it helps in the photosynthesis. Without this, photosynthesis doesn't occur. In the photosynthesis lesson, you come to know its importance and all. And also it helps in photorespiration. So instead of carbon dioxide, it accepts oxygen, plants accepts oxygen more, then respiration takes place. That's called photorespiration. The next protein we are going to know about trypsin. Trypsin is an enzyme which helps in a breaking of proteins in the intestine, not pepsin. Pepsin is an enzyme acting in the stomach. Trypsin is an enzyme acting intestine. In intestine, it breaks every peptide chains. And antibodies are generally glycoproteins. Glycoproteins means what? It's not a complete protein. If a glycoprotein is 100, in that 50% is glyco. Glyco means what? Carbohydrates are there. Another 50% proteins will be there. So it is a combination of carbohydrates and proteins. So these structures are called antibodies. These antibodies will be produced in our body by B lymphocytes, and these B lymphocytes production antibodies are against to the germ cells, bacteria or virus, and resist our body according to their infections. Now a receptor, just before I discuss what is receptor, there may be taste or smell or sense on skin, whatever. The sensory receptors are also protein combinations. Next, to enable the glucose transport, there is a special protein is there. It is called GLUT4. GLU means glucose, T means what? Transport. So GLUT4 helps in the enable of glucose transport in the blood. Other than this, so many are there. In the basic concepts, this is enough. So guys, By this, I completed the protein structures. In the next video session, I am coming with the lipids. Read carefully and write running notes and refer the material which we provided and attempt the assignment. Thank you.